Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF, Bava Basra, DAF Hey, DAF Ches. We are holding 3 lines off the top of the Amud. Rav Nachman bar Rav Chisda. He was in charge of collecting imposing the head tax, which they collected for the king. Rama Karga, so he imposed this head tax on the Rabbanon as well. So he required them to contribute to the tax fund. Amalei Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. So Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak challenged him. How could you do that? How could you include the Talmidei Chachamim as well? Avros, you have now violated threefold. Adai Raisa, on a halacha, on a lesson that is presented in the Torah, in the Chumash, V'ad Nevi'eh, as well as in the Navi, V'ad Ksubei, and we find it in the Ksubim as well. So it's a triple violation on a concept which is clearly presented in the Torah, Nevi'im, and Ksubim, that the Talmidei Chachamim are meant to be exempted from these taxes because of their immersion in Torah. Where do we find it in the Chumash? Adai Raisa, the Chsiv. Av chayvei v'amim kol kadosha v'yadecha. So this pasuk in V'zeis HaBracha, the Gemara will learn as follows. Amar Moshe. This reflects it's reflective of a conversation that Moshe had with Hashem. Amar Moshe l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moshe turns to Hashem, Ribono shel Olam, Master of the world. Afilu b'shah shatach mechaviv amim. Even during the difficult, dark times of exile, when Hashem appears to sort of favor the Goyim and put them on top and in control of your sons, your Klal Yisrael, still have a special eye, kavayachol. Watch over the Chachamim, kol kadosha b'yodecha. The Kadoshim, the Chachamim, they should be in your hands, and you should guard them. V'hem tuku l'raglecha. What is that going on? What is tuku l'raglecha? That's describing the tremendous commitment of these Chachamim to learning Torah. Tani Rav Yosef, Elu Talmidei Chachamim. These are the Chachamim shemekatatim ragleim. They drag their feet, meir leir umimdina, from town to town, from city to city, from state to state. Ulmay Torah, to learn Torah. So they go and they travel great distances to learn Torah. Yisom mitabrisecha, right? So they travel Yisom mitabrisecha to immerse in Torah, Lisa Valite, to give and take, to discuss, to toil in what? B'diburoisav shel makayim, in the words of Hashem. So the pasuk here is telling us that they get special status. Hashem guards them, and Hashem gives them special status that they are patur from taxes. Now, what's the connection between the two? I mean, if they're guarded, that's why they're patur from taxes. So in the Sefer here, Mishpat Tzedek says beautiful word based on the Rush in Simcha of Tez, that the reason why Goyim guard the Yidden under their jurisdiction is because they have benefit from their presence, because they pay taxes. So since Talmidei Chachamim don't require Shemira, as we learned yesterday, the Torah guards them. So the whole point of paying so that the Goyim should guard them and look after them, well, they don't need the Goyim's services, so therefore they're patur, they're exempt from taxes. So we found a source in the Chumash, in Parshas V'zeis HaBracha, to exempt the Chachamim from taxes. Ad Nevi'eh, and he told them, look, you violated something we find in the Nevi'im as well. The Chsiv, the pasuk says, Gam, the pasuk in Hosea, Gam, Ki yitnu ma'goyim ata akabtzem v'yochelu ma'ot mimaso melech v'sor. Okay, says the what does this mean? V'amrula. Pasuk zeh b'loshen Arambis nemar. The word ki yisnu in Lashon Kodesh means to provide, to give. But here it's in Aramaic, and yisnu means to study, like shinun, like yishnu, like mishnah, right? Itanu kulu ata akabtzem. So the pasuk here is telling us, look, if the entire Klal Yisrael, or at least most of Klal Yisrael, are immersed in Torah, Ata Akabtzim, Hashem promises to gather them from the exiles and to bring them to the Gula. But if only a small portion of Klal Yisrael are doing that, are learning Torah, so although they don't merit immediate redemption, but yochelu means lashon of lo yachel devarei, Rashi says, nullified, they'll be exempt. Mimasa melech v'sarim, from the yoke, right? Being financially committed in terms of tax commitments to the melech v'sarim, to the king and the ministers. So basically, we learn from here that they have an exemption, a tax exemption. And furthermore, at the Chsuvei, we find the same in the Ksuvim, the Chsiv. This was when the king Daryavish instructed the minister who was looking after collecting taxes from the residents of Eretz Yisrael. He says, look, there is a segment of the population that are exempt from taxes. And he was referring to the those who are building the Beis HaMikdash. And Tosfos says that likewise, if it affects those individuals because of their clergy status, likewise the Loim Dei Torah would be included and covered by this exemption as well. And what did he tell them? These are three different types of taxes. There's no authority to impose these taxes on these clergy people. What are these three types of taxes? Minda zu manas hamelech. That's the set taxes which go to the king. Below zu kesef golgolta. That's the head taxes. And v'halach, that is zu arnoina, a percentage of your income or whatever that you have to provide the king. Continues the Gemara. Rav Papa Rama Karya Chalata. He imposed the cost for the payment for the cost to dig out a new well, to produce a new water source for the town. Ayasmi, he imposed that obligation on young orphans as well. So everybody had to contribute equally. Amar le Rav Shisha, brother Rav Idi, le Rav Papa. So Rav Shisha challenged him. How could you do that? You can't just include the Yisayimim in all the the collections that we make, because they're not obligated to contribute unless they have direct benefit. And in this case, sure, we're attempting to find some more water for the town, but perhaps we will not discover water, in which case it's money down the drain. And the Yisayimim, says Rashi, are katanim, they don't have the ability to forgive and to be moichel. So how can you collect this money ahead of time? He says, you're right. Mishkal shakilim minayu. Currently I'm collecting this payment, but I'm holding on to it, pending further development. If we discover water, if we're successful, midvil, fine, then great, we'll keep the money, but otherwise, certainly I will refund them their money, mahadarna lahani alay. And the Mepharshim explained, we don't do this to all the other residents. We don't refund them the money for a failed enterprise, and the reason is because, it's part of the it's part of the deal. You have to be willing to invest, right, in order to take your chances. It's just the way things work. But by Yisayimim, they're not obligated to do that unless they actually have direct benefit. And in this case, you have to wait and see what happens. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Kessler la'aglei gapa. All residents, even the Yisayimim, afilu miyasmi, even them, right? We collect from everybody for the aglei, for the gates of the gapa of the city walls, which provide protection, right? Aval rabbanon leitzricha netrusa. Back to the chachamim again. They don't need that. They don't have to contribute to that because they don't need shemira. They have the Torah guarding them. Hakoy lekari pasya. But when it comes to digging for water, everybody has to contribute. Afilu rabbanon. Kari means to dig. Pasya, says Rashi, is another way to refer to a water pit, and actually Rashi says the pasya is the kli, the sort of the pail that's lying there, and that's how it got its name. And it's only true that the Rabbanon will contribute el delenafki ba'achluza. If we're just collecting money, we're not actually asking the residents to personally come out and dig. Aval nafki ba'achluza, if they're coming out by the multitudes, meaning that doing it personally, in this case Rabbanon lav b'nei meipak ba'achluzanin, Rabbanon are exempt because it's not befitting for them to come out and dig for water. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, right? Pasach oitzrois b'shnei batzeres. It was a time of famine, and he opened up the warehouses, stores of food to provide food for the crowd. Amar, he says, I'm being selective. Yikansu Bali Mikra, only those who study Torah can come in. The ones who study Chumash, Bali Mikra, the ones Bali Mishnah, the ones Mishnayos, Bali Gemara or Mishnayos, Bali Halacha, Bali Agada. Aval Ameh Oretz, but the people are totally bereft of Torah. Al Yikansu. If you don't engage in Torah, you're not deserving of provisions. Dachak Rabbi Yehuda ben Amram. So Rabbi had a Talmud, Rabbi Yehuda ben Amram, and he sort of squeezed his way into V'nichnas without identifying himself. Amalai, Rabbi Parnasenis, he turned to Rabbi, says, provide for me, and Rabbi for some reason didn't recognize him. Amalai, he says, Bni, my son, Karisa, are you involved in learning Chumash? Amalai, in Lav. He didn't want to take credit for his Torah, he didn't want to make money off his learning. So he sort of played it down. No, I'm not a learned person. Shanisa, what about Mishnayos? Amalai Lav, he says, no. So Rabbi says to him, look, I'm in a predicament. Based on what merit do you expect me to provide for you? Amalai, he says, look, I'm no more than a dog or a raven. And Rashi explains that he specifically mentioned these animals because we find in the Gemara on Shabbos that the Gemara explains that Hashem has special mercy on these animals who have a hard time finding food, because the Kelev, he just, he's a domestic fellow, but he's not really fed too often by people. So Hashem arranged that his food should last in his system. It should last for 3 days. This way he needs less food. And the Oirev, Rashi says the Oirev is achzori, not very compassionate on his kids, doesn't provide for them. So Hashem generates flies from their waste, and this way the baby ravens can find food. In any case, that was his reference. That was his mashal. Listen, I'm no worse than those animals that Hashem takes care of. Please provide for me as well. Parnas says, so Rabbi acquiesced and gave him. But enough. After he left the house, you also have Rabbi become tzedakah. Rabbi felt bad. He was distressed. V'amar, he says, Oili shenosati pitil amaretz. Woe to me that I provided my bread to amaretz. Amar lafana Reb Shimba. Rabbi, so son Reb Shimba turned to him. He says, guess what? Maybe he was really worthy of your kindness. Shema Yoinusam and Amram Tamidchu. Maybe he's your Talmud Yoinusam and Amram Sheni Roitzulahanas Makavay Torah Miyamav, who didn't want to identify himself as a Talmud Chacham. He didn't want to benefit off his learning. That's for Adam Haba. He doesn't want to use Torah as a means for Badku v'ashach. In fact, they investigated and discovered that he was in fact that person. And going further, Rebbe says, I'm a Rebbe, you can't so coil, I'm allowing everybody in, I guess because of the story, right? So you don't want to take any chances to lock out the ones that are really deserving, and it was an open door policy going forward. Now, why was Rebbe so selective? Says the Gemara, Rebbe follows his own shita. Rebbe said, Ein pur anus bala olam el b'shvil ha'mi'aretz. The Amaretz are the catalyst of the cause for the any misfortunes and any lack of bracha because of their unwillingness to tap into the bracha of Torah. As we find in the following story, Kahu demei klila dushadu atveria. So the king decided to require the residents of the city of Tveria in Yerushalayim to pay for the new crown. Demei klila, pay for the crown. Also, look at the Rebbe. So the residents come to Rebbe. And they told him, "Leis for Rabban Badan. Everybody should contribute equally, even the Chacham." Amrlu Lois. He says, "No, Chacham are exempt." Amrlu. They said, "Okay, you know what? If you don't want to impose it on them, Arukinan will run away, and they'll be stuck with the obligation." Amrlu Aruku. So Rebbe says, "Be my guest. Leave." Aruku. So they disappeared. They left town. And guess what happened? Aruku Palgean on half of them. Let's say there were 100 residents. Half disappeared. And suddenly the king dropped the imposition by 50%. Dolyu palka. They removed half the fee. Why? Because half the Amaretz were not there. So Hashem arranged it that it should. So it was a clear indication that in fact they are sort of to blame for this entire episode. Asuhano palka. Come to the Rebbe. One second, we're not done. So the 50 remaining residents come back to Rebbe. Amrulay, and again they demand Leisu Rabbana Bahadan. We want the Chachamim to contribute with us. Amrulay, he says, absolutely not. Arukinan, you know what? They threatened to run away, and now the Chachamim will be stuck holding the bag. Araiku, she says, run away, leave town. Arukukulu, so they all disappeared. Pasha Ukayves, except for one laundry man, he stayed behind. And guess what? Shadu Ukayves, he gets a letter in the mail that he and only he must fully fund this whole enterprise. So he left town. Suddenly they canceled the whole imposition. Amar Rebbe, so Rebbe said, there you go, Reason, don't you see? The whole reason for this whole episode was the Amaretz. So this pretty much proves that notion. Okay, back to the Mishnah. So Mishnah speaks about all residents in a city having to contribute to the Chayma and the Lasayim, right? All the municipal needs. So the Mishnah says that if you're there for 12 months, you're considered a local resident and have to carry the, share the burden. We have a kasha. Hachameres, vagamelas. So we're speaking about the halacha of ir hanidachas. Let's say an entire city was swept into doing avodah zarah. So they were considered ir hanidachas, and the whole city is put to death by way of sword, and their money is totally destroyed as well. And this is in contrast to, let's say, an individual who commits the isra of avodah zarah. The einish, the punishment is skila, a different type of punishment, and his money is not affected. His assets are not sort of included in this process. So what if you have some visitors who have been staying around in Ir Hanidachas, and they were sort of taken along and swept along to do avodah zarah? Are they considered like locals and are included under the same sort of rules? The same procedure that applies to the local people applies to them as well, or not? So it depends how long they were there. Hachameres, vagamelas, you have a group of donkey drivers or camel drivers, hayveres, traveling from place to place. They stayed in this town and they got taken along to do avodah zarah. So although they're liable to death, but a different process is applied. Hein beskila, they get skila. Umayn and palat, and their assets are not affected. Don't become asr. But if they stayed there for 30 days, now they're considered sort of local residents, and they're covered by the same rules. And basayif, they get sayif, death by sword, and their money becomes asr as well. 30 days makes them a local resident, not 12 months like in our Mishnah. There are two separate statuses that we're looking at here. One takes 30 days to achieve, one is only achieved after 12 months. If you want to be considered b'nei masa, an actual permanent resident, that takes 12 months. Yusuva masa means a person who's dwelling, who's staying here. And that is the criteria for the Ir Hanidachas. The criterion is Yoish Ha'ir, that's the pasuk. Rashi brings the pasuk Yoish Ha'ir. As long as you're sort of been there for a while, that's enough. And that takes 30 days. Kedesanya, as we find in a similar halacha. Hamudar Hanome Anshi Ha'ir. Person made a neder, he's not allowed to have any benefit from the residents of such and such town. Who's considered a resident? If he was there 12 months, then you can't have any hana from him. He's called Anshi Ha'ir. But Pachas Mekan Mutter. If it's less than 12 months, he's not really included under that same category. But let's say he forbid himself from benefiting from the Yoish Ha'ir. That includes even a temporary resident. If a fellow was there for 30 days, he's included under that umbrella. Pachas Mekan Mutter, less than 30 days, you can have hana from him. So clearly there are two separate categories. Yoish Ha'ir, which is a 30-day deal, and Anshi Ha'ir, which is 12 months. So you mean to say for all these taxes and obligations which require a Anshi Ha'ir, you have to actually identify with the city as an Ish Ha'ir, as a permanent resident. That only happens after 12 months. We have a brayso which indicates that even less than that works. So they would typically collect all types of collections in town. For tzedakah, tamchay was a daily food collection to provide poor people with their daily meal. Kupa was a once a week collection, a money collection for a weekly fund which they would provide once a week. So shleishim yom tamchay, who wants to contribute to the tamchay? If you're there for 30 days, you have to contribute. Shleishim chadashim lekupa. To provide for the kupa, you're only obligated if you're there for 3 months. Shisha l'ksus, 6 months triggers the clothing drive contribution obligation. Tisha lekvura, 9 months you have to pay for the kvura of the aniyim. Shnei masar lepasir, there 12 months you have to pay for reinforcement of the the wall around the city. So bottom line, we see that for many obligations, it gets triggered even before 12 months. Now Mishnah says it's only 12 months. True, when the Mishnah speaks about 12 months being the minimum time for to achieve residency. That pertains to paying for the walls, right? For security. And in fact, that corresponds with our price as well. That's only achieved after 12 months. But for other items, for tzedakah items, it takes less than that. On this concept of pasir, right? Who's going to pay for that? Everybody. Even young Yisraelim, because they need the protection like anybody else. But again, the Chacham are exempt from anything that pertains to protection. The Rabbanon loy they don't need physical protection. The Torah protects them automatically. Omar Papa, l'shura, to pay for the wall. So pasir was sort of reinforcing the wall. Now we're paying for a new wall or more of a substantial repair. Hulu parsha, for a fellow who's a horse rider, right? So he's driving around town to inspect the infrastructure. Hulu tarzina, we have a fellow who's looking after the townspeople's weapons. He sits at the gateway to the city, and he looks after the armory. Afilu may ask me to finance these things you collect even from Yisraelim. Av Rabbana, let's use on Terusa, but the Rabbanon don't. Call the Musa. This is the rule. Call Musa Islam Nominate. Anything that you get hana'ah from, Afilu may ask me, that is imposed even on Yisraelim, and they enjoy the benefits of all these services. Says the Gemara, Rabbah, what did he do? Ramat Staka Ayasmi the Bei Bar Merian. There were these Yisraelim called Bei Bar Merian from the family of Bar Merian, and he took a tzedakah from the children of Bar Merian. Abai tells him, how do you do that? Batani, Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda. We learned that ain't place can tzedakah ala Yisraelim. I feel a pidyon shvim to redeem a captive Jew, which is a great mitzvah, as we're going to see in a minute. Even that we don't collect from Yisraelim. Amalei, he says, you're right. Typically, you're right. But here I was trying to pump up their prestige, so people will deal with them and they'll be more successful. I know lachshavinu, lashon of chashivas. Kavin, I was doing that to provide them with prestige. So actually, it was for their benefit. There was a story about a woman who was actually a guy, but she identified with Judaism. Ifra, that was her name, Ifra Hermes, and she was the mother of Imei the Shvarmang, the mother of a king called Shivar. And she used to actually keep from Tumas Nida, and she used to stand karbanos, as discussed in Mesachas Nida. So what did she do? Shadra Arnuka the Dinri, L'kamed Rav Yosef. She sent this package of dinar of coins to Rav Yosef. Armal, she says, use it for a big mitzvah. Lahavi l'mitzvah Rabbah. What's a big mitzvah? Yosef, Rav Yosef, Rav Yosef was sitting trying to figure out my mitzvah Rabbah. What exactly does she mean? What is a mitzvah Rabbah? Right? All mitzvahs are great. Amal Abai says, look, it's pidyon shvuyim. How do I know? With the Tanur of Shmuel, Bar Yehuda, right? We just learned, ain't place can stuck al Yisraelim. We don't typically impose stuck obligations on Yisraelim. I feel the pidyon shvuyim, even for pidyon shvuyim. So what does that tell us about the importance of pidyon shvuyim? Shma mina pidyon shvuyim mitzvah rabbi. Apparently, that's called a mitzvah rabbi. Mitzvah rabbi. Amalei rabba l'rabba mari. How do we know this? Okay, so we've just proven it, but how do we know this from a source in the Torah? How do the Rabban know that in fact Pidyon Shvuyim, the Pidyon Shvuyim mitzvah rabbi, and Taisa says you could actually sell a Sefer Torah for that as well. Amazing. How do we know this? The pasuk says by Yirmiyah, who was warning Klal Yisrael on the way out to Golos, it's going to be challenging, it's going to be difficult. You'll tell them where Hashem takes us. Whoever will die naturally, that will happen to him. Some will die by sword, some by hunger, and finally, some in captivity. The later references in the pasuk are more severe than the earlier references. Right, so the pasuk begins with natural death, over to cherev, over to rav, over to shvi. That's the worst of all. Cherer kashem imobis. Death by sword is more difficult than dying naturally. In boy say makra, in boy say svara. Either that's learned from a pasuk or just common sense. In boy say svara. It could be a svara haika minval, vailoika minval. If it happens by sword, it's a more undignified death than dying naturally. In boy say makra, or it could be learned from a pasuk. Yakar bein Hashem. It is preferred to Hashem. It is dear to Hashem. Hamafsal chasidav. That is righteous die naturally over any other way. Rav kashem yecherev. Hunger is worse than cherev. Iboy yisem svara. It can be learned from just svara. Haika mitzdair, by loka mitzdair, because if it's by hunger, it's an ongoing distress, ongoing tsar, rather than cherev, which is a short-lived experience. Iboy yisem akra, or it can be learned from a pasuk. Toivim hoyu chalei cherev mechalei rav. The ones who died by sword had an advantage over the ones who died of hunger. And finally, shvi kashem mikulam, the worst is the fellow who's in captivity. The kulu is nubeh, because he's exposed to all types of distresses and all types of death. Tanaraban. Okay, back to collecting tzedakah. Kupa shel tzedakah, this weekly tzedakah fund, nigbis b'shnayim, u'mischakas b'shleisha. We need 2 in charge of collecting, and 3 will distribute it. Why? Nigbis b'shnayim, 2 individuals go around collecting it. She'ein oisim suraros alat tzibur. We never impose a srara on a tzibur, meaning a person who's in charge, a person who's in a position of authority in the community, that has to be done with a minimum of 2 people. Pachos mishnayim. So since they're going around collecting and forcing people to contribute, so there need to be 2 people out of respect for the tzibur. The reason why I need 3 to distribute the money, kadidi mominus, like your typical bezdin who's involved in financial matters, because they have to determine and decide who's deserving of how much money. That's a big responsibility which requires 3 people. The next collection is the tamchoy. This was the daily food collection. Again, nigibis b'shloisha, u'mischakis b'shloisha. Here we go up one. Instead of just distributing it with 3 people, we have to collect it with 3. You know why? Because they have no time between the collection and distribution, because the food is going to spoil. So may as well start with 3 right away. This way they collect it and give it out right away. Shegivuya, the collection, v'chalukah, and its distribution, shavim, happen in close proximity. How often do these collections happen? Right? Tamchay is b'chol yom, on a daily basis. V'kufa, it's a once a week thing. Erev Shabbos, once a week. Tamchay, the material collected in the Tamchay collection, laniya olam. That's meant to be given to anybody that shows up. Kufa, laniya ir, but the weekly fund is only for the local aniyim. But although this is typical, but you can make exception. The residents could decide to flip it around, to use the money of the kupa for the tamchoy to provide food, and vice versa. And apply it to any sort of tzedakah that they choose. That's their authority. What else are the bnei ha'ir allowed to do? They can manipulate the measures, let's say we have a sa'ah and a kav, all these types of measures. They can decide that these measurements should change and increase or decrease the measurements, and that becomes the new measurement. Likewise, they can establish prices for, let's say, commodities. They can establish minimum wage for the workers. Right? This is what whatever these are the workers' rates that and these things cannot be changed. These are established by the community. Not only that, they can actually enforce it very strongly. La literally means to remove, to separate. Al kitsasan, because of their established rules. Meaning, basically, what he's saying is you can deviate, so to speak, from the standard rules of the Torah. Meaning, they can initiate their own penalties. They're allowed to do that. Initiate penalties for those who do not conform to these rules. Okay. Amar. Ein oisin sroris alat tzibur b'chas mishnayim. An authority needs to consist of 2 people. But how do we know this? Amar apnach amar kro. We have by the collection, by the midbar, by the mishkan, right? V'heim, right? You need at least 2 people to collect the money. Yikchos zahav. Says the Gemara, sroris hodloi avdi. So apparently the concern is because it's a srara, it's a position of authority, and out of respect you have to have 2 people involved. But it's not a question of trust or integrity that requires 2 people. But theoretically, even one person would be believed. It's not a question of him stealing money. That you're requiring, two people to look over each other's shoulders. No, that's not the point. And that's a raya mesayel Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Chanina, Masa, Umina, Rabbi Shnei Achan Lakupa. Rabbi one time appointed 2 brothers to collect this money. Now, 2 brothers we know are considered like one with respect to edus, with respect to believability, right? You can't have a pair of edim consisting of 2 brothers. So clearly, it's just a question of numbers, having 2, even though they don't really have a greater level of believability than one person. Now the question is, Maisa Rusa, why is it considered a surara? You're just collecting money. Why are you taking this thing so seriously? Yeah, actually, sometimes you can get into a run-in, and you need to be pretty strict and enforce all kinds of impositions on the residents if they fail to cooperate and provide generously for the tzedakah collection. If you take a mashkin, you can force a homeowner to provide a collateral if he's unwilling to pay his tzedakah fees. I feel very Shabbos. Erev Shabbos, it's a stressful time. If he's not going to, provide his weekly donation, you can take a mashkin. So in order to carry that out, you need 2 people. That's really a srara. Aini, is that true that they can actually, forcefully do this with a balabas? Well, the pasuk says, Hashem says, I'm going to, remember and pay back, punish the ones who distress Klal Yisrael. What's the, what are we trying to cover here? What's the reference to? By the way, Bar Marta was his mother's name. She was a big tzaddikus, and because of her, he's called Shmuel Bar Marta. In any case, Mishmei Rabbi is quoting Rabbi, Afil Gabayit Tzedakah. It includes even Gabayit Tzedakah, who are treating the members unfairly and, coming down too hard. So you see, you have to be soft and gentle when it comes to collecting tzedakah as well. How do you go ahead on Erev Shabbos, stressful time, and go put them, like Kash? The answer is like this. Depends if you're being reasonable. Or he's just, playing difficult. Hada Ahmed, if he's known to have money and he can write a check right away, and then he's just being difficult, he deserves this treatment. Otherwise, you have no right, to push him and pressure him. Kuhada Rava, as we find the story regarding Rava, Akbe, he forced Ranasim Bar Ami, who was able to provide generously, and he forced him to provide 400 zuzim for tzedakah. Okay, on the topic of tzedakah collectors and their tremendous chus, V'maskilum yasiru k'zeir arkia. So this is a pasuk in Daniel. V'maskilum yasiru k'zeir harkia. And the pasuk concludes, Umatzdike harab, and those who are merzaka, Klal Yisrael k'chavim le'lam v'adel, shine like stars forever. Who are these individuals? So the first part is going on Zeh Shadayan Shadan Dinemas Lamite. A dayan who conducts his cases with utmost integrity. Emes Lamite. What are these 2 references? He says, one is that he shouldn't allow himself to be swayed, right, and bribed, and the other reference is referring to a case where actually he has to see through the crookedness of the Edom. He has witnesses, everything's right here. He doesn't sense. He senses something wrong. So he has to go with his intuition. He cannot accept their testimony. Unbelievable. So that's a dayan without fear. He's done the nemes lamitoy. He follows the truth and only the truth. What is that? The tzedakah collectors, they will earn eternal reward. In a brayso we have a slightly different interpretation. That's going on the first 2 individuals discussed. First of all, Zadayin Shadon Dinem Islamite, and number 2, V'Gabayit Tzedakah. So it covers both. Who are those people? Those that teach Torah to kids. They're called Kichacham Lo'elam Vod. The Marshal explains, stars are only visible at night. Where are they by day? They're still shining, but we don't see them. We only see them active in the classroom, but a true Rebbe is committed 24/7, even when we don't see them around. I once heard a beautiful word, I forget from who, I think Yitzchak Hutner. He said that, maybe it was Rosh Hashanah Feivel Mendowitz, Beautiful verse. He says, what's the connection to stars? He says, look, many a star appear in our, night sky, right? But in actuality, they don't even exist anymore. They burnt out years and years ago, right? It's very, very possible because it can take many, many, many years for the thousands of years for the light to filter down, right? To get from that distance down to this world. By the time they come here, the stock will be gone. A Rebbe's effect on his Talmud is forever, even when the Rebbe's not here. The lessons, the inspiration, the love, the warmth, the care, the idealism, the excitement for Torah. It's embedded, it's absorbed in the student forever. Beautiful verse. Let's have an example of a Rebbe who's really committed. I'll give you an example. Rav Shmuel Bar Shilas. By the way, Shilas is also his mother's name. The Rav Shmuel Bar Shilas. It so happens that Rav encountered this Rebbe, and he wasn't in his classroom. He was standing in his garden. He says, what are you doing here? You've abandoned your trust, meaning what happened to your commitment to your students? What are you doing in the garden? He says, actually, it's the first time in 13 years that I'm even visiting my garden. And even now you should know. You know what my heart is? You know what my mind is? You know what I'm thinking of? My kids, my students. Okay, so we discussed the greatness of the Dayanim, Gabbai Tzedakah, the Rebbeim, V'Rabbanim. What about the Talmidei Chachamim? What level of schar are they going to get? Omar Avina, V'Oyavav, Ketzeis. There's another pasuk that describes them in Shoftim, V'Oyavav, the lovers of Hashem, the highest level of Oyav Hashem, the Talmidei Chachamim, Ketzeis Hashem, it's Gurasai, they'll experience the brightness, ultimate brightness when the sun, spiritual sun will come out in its greatness. Tanaraban. Gabbai Tzedakah collectors must maintain transparency and avoid any impression of impropriety. So you have a pair of Gabbayim collecting, right, like we said. They can't go their separate ways and collect separately because it might appear like, he's trying to, hide out and, siphon off some money. So they have to be fully visible to each other all the time. Aval Perish is a shar, but Reuben can go to the shar, the other one can go to the chanus, to the store, as long as they're within, eye view of each other. Motza Mois B'Shuk. Likewise, if a guy by tzedakah happens to find money in the street, he shouldn't put it in his own pocket, because it's going to look like he's pocketing tzedakah money. Rather, he should put it into the tzedakah fund, tzedakah bag. In the meantime, when he gets home, he'll remove it and keep it. Likewise, a tzedakah collector happened to lend somebody money, and he finds his fellow in the street, who pays him back right there. Rather than putting it into the tzedakah push in his own pocket, he doesn't do that. He puts it into the tzedakah pocket. When he gets home, he takes it out. So they collected lots of pennies and they want to distribute it. There are no aniyim today. So Rashi says the copper coins will, get tarnished or rusty. So they would typically switch it up for silver coins. Partin lacherim. They should do it with other people. They should switch it with others. Ve'ein partin lasm, rather than do it amongst themselves, because it might look like they're, people might suspect that they're shortchanging tzedakah when they make these transactions. So do it in a bank, do it lacherim, in an open and public, transparent fashion. Likewise, Gabbai Tamchoy, the food collectors, Shein Lamanim Lachal, we don't have any anim to distribute the food to. Moichem Lachem, they have to sell it. They sell it to others at a fair price. Ve'ein Moichem La'atzma, as opposed to buying it off themselves, because people might suspect that they're discounting it. Moish tzedakah in Moinosim Shtaim, and you count the tzedakah money. Don't count it two at a time, because it might appear like you're doing two for the price of one, right? And you're going to be taking money for yourself. Rather do one at a time, 1, 2, 3, 4, in a transparent fashion. Omar Abai Miresh, way back, Lo Yahava Yosef Mar, the Rabbi would refuse to sit at Tzipet Beknishta on the mats in the Beis HaKnesses. Rashi says, you know why? Because they used tzedakah money to purchase those mats. He didn't want to sit on it. But given the Shama Lahadasani, once you heard the Bryce that we said before, that the townspeople have the right to direct all these funds in whichever way they choose to. It's their prerogative. So therefore, he was okay sitting on the mats which were purchased with these monies. Initially, Rebbe, the Rabbah, had two funds, two pockets. One was to provide for visitors, aniyim from out of town, and one to provide for local aniyim. So he kept the funds separate. But what happened? Given the Shama, once he heard about the halacha, Shmuel instructed L'Rav Tachlifa bar Rav Dimi. What did he tell him? Don't bother making two separate funds. One is enough. And you just stipulate with the community, make it tonight that you're gonna, allocate it as you see fit. And that's okay. So once you heard that, he as well, meaning Rabbi as well, followed this system of Kisa, Va'asni Allah, he made only one kiss with a condition. Rashi says, look, I don't even go that far. I don't even have to make it tonight. I don't have to discuss it with my townspeople. You know why? The chol, the ka, asi, anybody that comes and gives me tzedakah money, he knows I'm gonna, right? It's up to my discretion. Adata didi asi. He's giving it to me with that in mind, that I'm going to do with it as I see fit. And, give it to whoever I see who needs it, right? And therefore, that's what I do. And therefore, I can give it to whichever ani I choose. Okay, let's recap today's DAF. We discussed the fact that Yisraelim contribute to everything that they have hana'ah from, but Chachamim, although when it comes to, let's say, water expenses, but not when it comes to shmirah expenses or other types of taxes to the authorities. We learn from the Tanakh. Throughout the Tanakh, we find that the Chacham are exempted from these taxes because of their immersion in Torah. Rebbe provided parnasa for initially just at the Chachamim, but after the episode with Yonisam and Amram, who disguised himself and turned out to be a Talmud Chacham, he opened the door for everybody. At what point does a person become a Yeshiva a year, 30 days, Anshe a year, 12 months? It pertains to contributing to the municipal expenses and pertains to other halachas as well, like Yeron Edachas, like the Mudar Hanoah. We discussed the greatness of Pidyon Shavuyim, and we discussed how to collect the Tamchui, how to collect the Kupashot Staka. Srara al Tzibur needs at least two people. We expounded on the pasuk, which highlights the chashivas of the Dayanim, Kabbayit Staka, Lamdei Tinaikas, how to keep transparent when it comes to maintain transparency, and Erlkai when it comes to collection and distribution of Staka funds, and Rav Ashi's point that the Rav has the authority to allocate money as he sees wish, because that's what they had in mind when they gave it to him. All the best to you, and Atzlacha Rav.